They become attached to these things. It's almost like some people, when you come over, they want to, introduce you to their dog or their children or their spouse. Some people want to introduce you to all their, their valuable collection of whatever. Or they may have affection for their home. Home, sweet home. Be it ever so humble. There's no place like home. The reason I mention this is because if you study the psychology involved, when we develop affection for, attachment to inanimate objects, we are attached to things to the extent that we are able to use them and enjoy them, exploit them, derive pleasure. Like, for example, someone sees my expensive paintings on the wall, or someone sees my expensive car, or this or that, or or you sort of let people know what neighborhood you live in, and so on. So we become attached to inanimate objects in the sense we want to exploit them. Now, unfortunately, there is a process which I guess the postmodern intellectual world calls objectification. Objectification is not a positive term. It doesn't refer to getting things right and being fair-minded. Objectification means that we, in our own minds, we transform a subject into an object. We transform a subject into an object. In other words, every person, every living being, every one of you is the subject of your own life, the subject of your own consciousness. And yet, to the extent that I approach you with selfish desires, in my mind, not in reality, but in my mind, I transform you into an object of my consciousness. In other words, you exist to gratify me, to please me, to give me a good time, to serve me in some way, like bring my dinner. Where's that moron waiter? Or I mean, think of lust. When someone sees another person as simply an object of sexual gratification. So, the extent when we approach people with selfish desires, I mean, think of, relationships between business people where I may take you to lunch, I may do this or that, but all I want is your money. It's all about getting the checkbook out of your pocket, getting you to, take your pen and write the right numbers on the check and give it to me. And so this objectification, degrading people because you are not an object of my consciousness. I mean, you are. There's obviously, because I'm conscious of you, or you're conscious of me, we are in fact objects of each other's consciousness. However, if we are accurately cognizing each other, then we understand that we are dealing with another subject. That you do not exist simply to gratify me. You exist to realize your own purposes and your own best interest. So, getting back to the love thing. Lust, or selfish desire, or whatever word you want to use. In Sanskrit, it's kama. You may have heard of the Kama Sutras. Sort of ancient Indian, I don't know what you call it, learned porn or whatever, but... So, again, the Greek word eros, the Sanskrit word kama, we could say lust. It's interesting because lustig in German means happy. So compare these with, for example, the Greek word agape, the Sanskrit word prema. So the basic difference is that when you truly see someone as a subject, and you fully acknowledge that, when we fully accept that, there's no sense in which I see you or want you to be an object of my pleasure, but in every sense, I am pursuing your happiness. In my relationship with you, in my dealings with you, I am pursuing your best interest and your happiness. That's love. That's love. And I may have great affection for you because, for example, a man meets a woman to whom he's attracted and thinks, wow, what a collectible. And of course, women have even been known to think the same thing about a man. So, meanwhile, back in Beatle land, so all you need is love. Again, let's go back to the definition in a very standard English dictionary. An intense feeling of deep affection. As I pointed out, that doesn't tell us. That definition does not tell us whether it is a selfish attempt to exploit another person or a loving attempt to actually serve the best interest of that person selflessly, an altruistic affection. Next definition, a deep romantic or sexual attachment. Again, insufficient information. So it's interesting because I actually looked at several definitions. I looked at several dictionaries. I could not find any dictionary, any standard English dictionary, which made any distinction between these two ideas, for which ancient languages did have different words. So now the word love, you can say, for example, I love mushrooms on my pizza. So the word basically has been stripped of any real meaning. And therefore, people do feel free to say I love you when their intention can be quite selfish and exploitative and temporary. But they have no hesitation in saying love because why not? Love means everything and love means nothing. Now, one other point I'd like to introduce here concerning love is that our ability to love, in a sense, or the degree of love, true love we can achieve, depends on two factors. And that is, number one, our own capacity to love, and number two, how lovable the other person is. Now, there are, of course, great noble teachings all over the world which urge us to love everyone, no matter how obnoxious they are, no matter what that person has done to you or not done for you, somehow you should love them. And I think Jane Austen got this one right, among many things she got right, where in her work, Emma, I think Mr. Knightley says that, or one of the main characters says that we should have universal goodwill, but, I mean, paraphrasing, but friendship is more limited. In other words, if, let's say, you meet someone who clearly does not have your best interests in mind, a person who is not reliable, whom you cannot trust, what does it mean to love that person? And should we love that person? Why should we love that person? And what does it mean to love a person who, in a sense, is unworthy of your friendship? In the sense that they will not reciprocate, they will not do anything except perhaps mistreat or exploit or neglect you. So in that sense, what does it mean to love them and why? And here we get to an inescapable fact.